ACCUCARE Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine in Brick, New Jersey offers a state-of-the-art facility with all the best and current treatments. With athletic trainers, massage therapists, and doctors of physical therapy, ACCUCARE has everything you need to stay healthy and perform at the highest level. Cupping, stretching, laser therapy, compression boots, and a full-body cryo chamber are just some of what you can expect at ACCUCARE. Check out their website and social media links in my bio. No prescription is needed to see them. So call them today and start feeling and performing at your best. Again, thank you to ACCUCARE for sponsoring the Shore Football Report. Hello, everybody. This is Rob Davis from the Shore Football Report. I wanted to talk to you right before we start our debut of the 2022 weekly high school football talk show. I personally want to thank our title sponsor, ACCUCARE in Brick. Pam Anthony, the founder and owner of ACCUCARE, has been tremendous to my program here with the Shore Football Report. Her and her staff, they bought into what we are doing here, and I bought into what they're doing over there. The athletes from Ocean Monmouth County are currently going to her facilities, the state-of-the-art equipment that she has for recovery, rehabilitation. The thing that I'm really impressed with, though, from an athletic standpoint, it's body and mind working together. It's not just one or the other. She's fantastic, and she will be involved with the Shore Football Report throughout the whole 2022 football season. A lot of great things we're going to have, a lot of fun stories that we're going to have here on the Shore Football Report. And I am so proud, honored to be associated with ACCUCARE and Brick. Phone number is going to be listed throughout all our social medias, her contact for her facilities. You need anything from her, contact me, and that's that, all right? I could not vouch for anybody anymore than ACCUCARE in Brick and Pam Anthony. So I want to thank you, Pam and ACCUCARE, for everything you have done and everything you are going to do for the season. And like I said, there are athletes going right now, currently getting ready for the seasons, for the fall, the winter, and the spring season. She is fantastic, and I'm proud to be associated with. And also, Scott Stump is debuting today, and I'm excited. He's excited. I have two big pickups this year that elevated the Shore Football Report. ACCUCARE, couldn't do it without them, and Scotty Stump, who will be on the sidelines. If you don't know who he is, you're going to know who he is real soon, all right? Proud to be associated with two great people, and that's that, all right? I'm Coach Davis, the Shore Football Report. Now let's have some fun. Welcome, everyone, on the debut of the ACCUCARE Shore Football Report for Week 0, and we have a lot to talk about in a short span. First, I want to talk to the guy on the left, and Coach, welcome back, Mr. Stump. Scott Stump is back. Scott, thanks for coming on the show and being a part of the Shore Football Report for the whole season.
No, I'm so excited to be back. It's been, 7 years now. After doing it for 17, it was strange. Every fall, I would get to the fall, and the weather would change, and the games would start, and it would be strange not being out there again. I'm excited to be back doing this again, covering Shore Conference football, seeing all the great players, the great atmospheres, having fun at the games again. I'm looking forward to it.
what news was out there. And I'm gonna lie to you a little bit because you and I talked, and you said don't say nothing till what was it, July 15th, and that was the thing we did. So I kept my mouth quiet, but I told a
I
couple.
don't know if you kept it that quiet. I
Well, I'm gonna
started
say
hearing from people
I'm
pretty early.
I'm going to say, I told a couple coaches out there, and you guys that are watching, you know I'm talking about you. You guys talked and told people because you called me and told me, hey, there's a buzz out here. I might be going with you. I thought you were going to be quiet. I told a select few. So I know who it might have been because I couldn't keep a secret. I can't. That was a great secret. You were the mystery hire for like 3-4 weeks. People were like, enough with this. Just tell us who it is. But those coaches cannot keep a secret. Cannot.
Yeah, I was in Aruba on vacation with my wife, and I'm getting text messages from people. Are you really doing this? Are you coming back? And I was like, of course, Rob couldn't keep it under wraps. I knew it.
I
So
couldn't.
no, it was fun. I guess I was happy that certain coaches and everything were interested that I was coming back and doing it again. So yeah, I'm definitely happy to be back. It's crazy to think. I went to the media day at Monmouth University, which was an amazing creation by the short conference coaches, by the way, first year, and seeing how many coaches, head coaches that were players that I covered.
Oh yeah,
it definitely made me feel a little bit old, but it was good to see everybody and yeah, and just see so many familiar faces because when you do this for so long, these people become like your friends and you become part of the shore football community. And I missed a lot of that the last couple of years. I mean, for those who don't know, my full-time job is working for the Today Show on NBC. And I'll still be doing that. Obviously, I write a newsletter for them. I'm a reporter for the Today Show website. But not being around all those people, it definitely was strange when I left. That people I was in contact with constantly. You were texting me and calling me every Friday night to see what was going on, and and all these other coaches. Like it was weird to not be in contact with them anymore. So it'll be good to be back in the whole scene. And again, I went to the All Shore game, the Shore Gridiron Classic in the summer, standing on that sideline. I started kind of getting that feeling again of like being back in it, of like, this is fun and it's good to see everyone. And, obviously this is all about the players. This is the great time of their lives. You want to make it special for them. You want to make it so that playing in the Shore Conference is a special, memorable thing, that you won't forget, and that we will do everything we can to cover as many teams and as many players as we can and talk about as many. I mean, look at all division teams you've done already and all these other teams, mentioning so many kids, talking to all these coaches. That to me is what it's really all about. But yeah, it's definitely good to be back.
I tell you, when I told the head coaches that you were coming back with me, I mean, they were just overwhelming with great stuff to say about you. It's about time. We missed you, all that stuff. But it's funny because 50% of the audience knows you. The other 50% doesn't, and that's the more important ones is the athletes. Yeah. But they're being told
about the high school cycle. You're gone for a couple years, and it's like, who's that guy? So that's kind of funny. Like when I was at the Monmouth University thing, I had players saying, "Are you the mystery hire? Are you Coach Davis's mystery hire?" And I'm thinking, I was there covering this sport before Coach Davis even started as a head coach at Barney.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, so I know that, and I'm looking forward to that too because the players are what make it the most fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have a lot of billing to live up to, I guess, after all the mystery hire and all the hype. I guess I better live up to it, or you're gonna can me.
Scott, I remember when I first started at Barnegat and you came in with all this audio equipment and you started up, you really nobody really knew who you were. But by the first graduating class, when they graduated, boy, oh boy, did they love the Stumpy Awards, their coverage. I mean, it got contagious. And that's what gave me the idea to do what I'm doing is because of you. So when I did it for a year and I gave you a call, I said, come on, let's just go. You and I, let's listen. I got all this stuff from a coach's perspective. You are incredible with your journalism. And I think it's going to be absolutely great for the Shore Conference football,
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to think that I worked for the Asbury Park Press from 1999 to 2006. That's when I first started covering high school football. Yeah. So I go way back, no Sean Moreno days in high school and Ken Cattouse and Donnie Brown and all those guys. And then, in 2006, we started Digital Sports, which was a digital startup that was just a web-only thing. And back then, if you didn't have a newspaper to go with your website, it was like a big deal. I can't believe you're doing this. And but we felt like that was the way the world was going as far as following everything. And
Yep.
you're right. That first year, we did a coach's diary with you from
Mhm.
your inaugural season at Barnegat, following every week, catching up every week. And I thought I liked it because, and the similar reason that I like this, we're small, we're lean. We may not have the greatest bells and whistles just yet,
Yeah.
but we can try different things. We can do what we want
Yep.
because we're in charge, and I like experimenting with different things, like you said, like the Stumpy
Yeah.
Awards, like ranking the snack bars around the short conference, all that kind of stuff, because it felt like a blank
Yeah.
canvas, like you could do whatever you wanted and try different things as far as having fun and covering the short conference football. And I think that's what a lot of this will be.
I think one of the other things I wanted to say before we get on was the statistics that you provided as a coach was incredible. It was incredible what you provided for the kids. You had them rankings and all that in terms of their statistics, and that kind of got pushed to the side through the years with cuts in the media and all that stuff, and people missed it. And that's something I brought back. I did bring back.
Yeah, no, and I mean every player, all the top players want to measure themselves against. Obviously it's not all about statistics. You're trying to have team success. The coaches sometimes they don't like the statistic leaders because
No.
they feel like their players get too obsessed with it
Yeah.
sometimes. But sometimes it's for goal setting. Hey, I want to beat this guy who's ahead of me on the list while also helping my team. But no, I think that certainly the stats are part of the whole thing, and then the feature stories about different players, the rankings. Those things are the things that make coaches and parents crazy or happy. They kind of get both sides of it, but people love it. I mean, there's a reason that when they put out power rankings for the NFL, all the fans are chiming. I can't believe we're behind this team. Or people love to argue about who's the best. Is this player better than that player? Compare guys, and players like to compare themselves and things like that. So yeah, you try to be as comprehensive as possible.
Well, I'm in a world of unknown. You and I known each other when I was a coach, and I was a coach for 27 years, and now I'm not. And the ideas that you're giving me from a journalist is great. I love it. Now, here's my question to you: media and technology has changed greatly. What do you think was different from when you first started to right now? Because it is
So many things. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think. When I first started on the sidelines, you just kept the stats on a clipboard.
Yeah.
That was it. You had a 4-colored pen, so you had the 2 different colors for each team.
Oh,
You kept the stats on a clipboard. You went back after the game, you typed up a box score, you wrote like a 5-paragraph story, and that was it. Now you're taking photos, you're taking videos, you're tweeting live update, you're tweeting videos if you can, and you're still keeping the stats.
Right.
And you're doing interviews after the game. There used to be more time maybe to watch the game and take it in, whereas now I felt like I needed another arm, growing out a part of me where I was like, I'm tweeting with this hand, I'm the guy at the camera in this hand, I got the clipboard in this hand. There's just so many things going on because everybody wants instant updates.
Yeah.
Think about it. We used to have at the press, we used to have a phone line that you called to get the scores on Friday night with Tony Graham's voice. Now you're tweeting an update every time someone scores a touchdown, and you're putting all the scores out as soon as you can. That the instant information is totally different now, and instant highlights. This kid literally ran for a touchdown a minute ago, and you're seeing it on someone's Twitter feed.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And it's the kids that probably know more about the social media than you and I do, but we're learning from them. That we really are. But you're right.
Well, and that's another thing too. They use it way more for their own recruiting and self promotion. Every kid's Twitter has their height and weight, their GPA, how they can be contacted, a link to their huddle film, because they know it's like a billboard for their talent and their career. So that is a much different thing too. And players will respond to you. If you wrote something about a player back in the day, unless you saw him in person or something the next time, you're not getting direct feedback. But now if you wrote something that's incorrect or that they disagree with, the funniest was years ago, I had a player from Lacey tweet me from the locker room at halftime to complain about some tweet that I had done, and gotten all kinds of trouble with Coach Russillo because it was like, what are you doing? But so those kind of things are way different now as far as you're a real person to that, and I think the end of it, the last time, sometimes they didn't think I was real. I just existed on the phone on a Twitter account. And it was like I'd be at the game and they didn't realize, like, oh, that's an actual real life person. So that part of it is different. But no, I'm looking forward to definitely getting back into it.
Good. I mean, these kids now, I wish I had this back in high school because they're like rock stars in their communities now with all the different social media platforms out there. But you know what? Who cares? And as adults like we are, you want to make things better than they were in the past and have fun with it. What's wrong with a kid?
Right. My whole thing is to just make it a very memorable time in your life. Whether you went on, whether you're Mike Gesicki or Quentin Nelson and you're going to go on to do amazing things in the NFL, or you're not even going to play football in college because you're just going to go to a school to be a student. I want you to look back on that time and have some memories that we helped, that you can go look at one day. And, I was an athlete in the short conference. Obviously, I'm so old that my scrapbook is just newspaper clippings. It's not printouts from a website or videos stored on a hard drive. But you just want to be able to look back on that time and laugh at the memories with your friends and it's an excuse for you guys to connect 20 years later. Oh, look at this old video of you running for a touchdown, or look at them discussing that game that we had. Those kind of things to me is the most important thing, is the players feeling like that was a special time in my life that I'll always remember happily.
Well, I'm pumped, and I know the short conference is pumped to have you back on the sidelines. You told me you had the itch after the Old Shore Classic, which was a good sign because you did kind of commit before it. But that I'm pretty excited about, and we're ready to get to work. We got a lot we're going to do. Our weekly talk show, which is the one that we're doing right now, will go on every Wednesday, so everybody will get to see it. And we'll talk a little bit later about the other content that we'll provide. Whew. Scott, I'll tell you what, I'm pretty burnt out right now with all the summer flew by with football. I think it's easier to coach than do the media stuff. It really is. My hand hurts. My eyes are killing me. I mean, it's.
Come
I don't know.
on, you don't be soft like that. You got to get in football shape.
I definitely need ACCUCARE. I am so hurting, but I don't know how you've done it for years because it's crazy. There's so much going on out in the real world.
Well, and everything starts so early now. I'm excited, but we already have week 0 games here, and it's still the end of August.
I hate week 0. Why does the state call it week 0? Just call it week 1 and push all the other numbers the other way. What are we going to have next? A week and a half, and then we got like what is week?
1.
What? Yeah. What is week 0? Why do we do it? It's confusing to us coaches, or those coaches, not me anymore. But the summer goes so much quicker if you move the season up 1 week. It's incredible. 1 week.
I mean, what would that be like? And that's an interesting question. Is you have some of these teams that have probably only had about 2 weeks of practice.
Yeah.
I mean, as a coach, is that enough time to feel like you're ready for a game?
No, I mean, you're talking about like the Freehold School District. They start August 10th. They have a game the 26th or 27th? So they have 16 or 17 days. It squeezes your scrimmages. No coach ever thinks.
But is that as big of a deal now that everybody's playing in July and 7-on-7s and you're doing so much more year-round stuff? Is not having as much time in August as big of a deal?
Well, I'll tell you what's more important, that players come into camp in shape, not to get in shape. That's the difference. A kid might say, oh, I'm not going to work out as much and go to camp and I'll work myself into shape, where you got to be in shape because you only have 2-3 weeks before the season starts. That's a big issue. And that happens a lot everywhere. I don't care what people say, but
and I think the other thing too, like say you're installing a new offense. Like we'll talk about Southern later.
Yeah.
But they're running the flexbone now, which can be intricate. You only have a couple weeks and then start. I mean, I think that can be a challenge too. But again, if you're kind of working on these things a lot of the off season, maybe it isn't as intense. But you're right, you're not really running it in a full on contact practice and all that kind of stuff that more simulates a game than like a 7-on-7 or something. Although, you wouldn't even be in that if you're running.
They got camps though. You got camps. You got progressional things you do in the summer. Doing my high school football preview shows, talking to every coach and coming on, I just liked hearing everybody's different approach on how you get to the same spot. Because if you think about it, some people do 3 days, some people go 4, some people take 2 weeks off when you do it. I think it all still equates to the same amount of time, to be honest with you, right? And there's
Yeah,
many
I
ways
mean,
to skin a
and
cat.
the short conference the thing that I've learned all these years is that it's incredibly competitive. Coaches feel like the day that I'm not working,
Yeah.
the 7 or 8 teams I'm playing, they're doing something today.
Yeah.
So it's like there is almost that paranoia that if we're not working hard enough, everyone else is. So I think you're right. I don't think it's that different for everybody because they're just feeling like we're going to be way behind if we're not doing this all the time or as much as we possibly can. And I mean, let's talk about scrimmage season.
Okay.
You've been around to a few scrimmages.
Yeah.
How much I always was interested in this. Obviously we love the cliches. Everyone's been working hard in the weight room. This year's team has more chemistry than last year's team. It's more like a brotherhood this year than last year. All that stuff.
Brick by brick.
But
yeah.
How much credence do you put in what coaches are telling you about? Oh well, yeah. Like, do you feel like they keep secrets in their mind? They go, "Oh, this sophomore is going to blow up this year. We know it," but they're not going to really tell you that.
There's a lot of sandbaggers out there. I got off the phone with one of them. I'm not going to say who it is, but boy, oh boy, when you have a good team, you tone it down. When you have a not so great a team, you kind of increase to, hey, we're pretty good. I love listening to the coaches. I have so much more respect for coaches now that I'm not coaching, rooting for all of them. Don't want any of them to lose, but it's funny how, everything. There's a lot of sandbaggers before a game on Fridays. I'll get text messages. It's going to be a tough one. We're banged up. I don't know what's going on. And then they win 48-6.
Right.
Like, am I going to believe the next text when I get from them?
And it was always injury. The two biggest things were always injuries and then up and coming stars that like we don't really want you to know about until we've won 2 or 3 games and the kid's already blown up like a couple times. We're going to move this kid to quarterback. We're going to claim there's a competition.
Yeah.
But really, we're grooming this kid to be a star. We've it's been amazing. Obviously, scrimmages will reveal something.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. How much can you take away? Obviously, I attended a lot of scrimmages over the years. And sometimes a team that I thought was mediocre kind of blew me away of, wow, they're a lot better than I thought. But then sometimes the good teams were just playing it so close to the vest that you were like, are they just not playing everybody today on purpose to not show us something? Or are they really not as good as we think? Like, I feel like there's
like
so
Vic
much
Caboo.
chess game.
Vic Caboo was that one.
Yes.
You were like, wait, they're not.
Manasquan scrimmage, you were learning
nothing.
About their team. Absolutely nothing.
Nothing. But yeah, I mean, you're right. You gotta know what's BS and what's not. But I also do a lot of research. So when I'm talking to these coaches, I know what else is out there too. So I know coaches talk brick by brick. We're only looking at week 1, all this. We got some people that uncertain about. But the all seriousness thing is the main thing this year was quarterbacks that were in competition for the thing. And that is true. A lot of people did not.
Usually they're just naming the other player because they're trying to, keep things political. But it felt like a lot of coaches you spoke with this year were legitimately saying we have 2 or 3 kids competing right to the wire here.
They honestly did. I went to 7-on-7s. They were splitting reps. I went to practices and seen this. Talked to other people. Some people have just made announcements the other day, and I'm not going to say who it was yet. But yeah, this year was the most quarterback uncertain who's the number 1 guy this year.
Now, you saw a few actual teams in person. Are there any notes, anybody who stood out to you from like a Donovan Catholic or a Toms River North or anybody like that?
Funny how you said that. I saw North and Donovan Catholic scrimmage each other, and it was really great to see 2 teams that are going to be in the coach's top 5, that are going to be elite, that is going to be in the playoffs and doing some damage. Yeah, it was hard. Sometimes it's hard to say because you might not be moving the ball as well, but then you start thinking, well, that's the number 1 DN in the Shore going against the number 2 offensive tackle, and these linebackers are all back from a team. So you got to know there's a lot of chemistry and matchup stuff, but North and Donovan Catholic was a great scrimmage to go look at. 2 good teams playing hard, well coached, both of them, a lot of talent. And I was wondering who's not playing anybody. Everybody was playing. The old we're not showing anything. They were showing a lot, and they both had a good scrimmage. And I think when they left, you could say they're both going to be contenders in their brackets.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I love watching scrimmages all over the place, and yeah, there's a lot of good teams and there's a lot of close knit teams that we'll be talking about through the weeks. A lot of
Yeah, you're
teams,
right. I think next week's show, when we
yeah,
get into division predictions and that, there's a lot of divisions where you feel like, man, 4 or 5 teams could legitimately win this division. Like,
yeah,
there's not really many divisions where you say, well, that's the head and shoulders
no,
clear favorite above everyone else. This could be a crazy year of
crazy.
parity where teams are knocking each other off week by week, and it's just a real dogfight to get a division title. And you just, in a way, you hope that doesn't hurt playoff seedings because the short conference is knocking each other around, and other areas teams are pulling ahead and get to have home games and things like that because the shore is beating each other up.
I bet you if you had a group of 50 people and you said, here's all the divisions, I want you to list 1 to 6, the order how it's going to end, that none of the 50 will have all of them right. I guarantee you
Yeah,
that. I guarantee
I
you that.
believe it. No, I looked at it. A lot of those realignments,
All of them.
you can't really just put your finger on one
No.
team and say, even a team like Red Bank Catholic that we know is tremendous, kind of the consensus or heavy #1 favorite for the preseason. That division they're in is really hard. That American division. I mean,
Yeah.
Donovan Catholic beat them last year. And they
Twice.
got to play them. They got to play Rumson. They got to play other. So yeah, I mean, even a team as good as they are is not just some ironclad lock to roll through the division. So yeah, obviously we'll cover all that in
Yeah.
a much bigger show next
Definitely
week
will.
when we're breaking down divisions and all that stuff. But we'll get to the top 20 in this show coming up, and we can definitely talk a little bit about it then. But you're right. I think it's going to be a year where there's not going to be a lot separating,
No.
number 5 and number 10 or something like that.
Scott, I'll tell you what's the difference too. From a coach and players, there comes to be there's enormous amount of pressure on teams, and it's usually self-inflicted. You might have a target on your back because you were good last year and all that, and sometimes you get very agitated because everybody's gunning for you. Opposed to if you were like, let's say Tom.
Or other times I've seen over the years, you have big name skill guys, right? You got this lights out quarterback, a great running back, but quietly your offensive line is not going to be very good.
Right.
Or graduated everyone. So the people see the names and lights and they think, oh, they're going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And then you come out and you struggle, you lose a couple games because teams are bulldozing you at the line of scrimmage and your quarterback's running for his life and the running back can't get 2 yards.
Yeah.
Everyone's going, what is going on? But as a coach, you probably knew that was coming, but you knew that the media and the fans were thinking, well, the expectations were way bigger because look at this player and that player that you have.
Maybe those are the coaches that won't be calling me back after the game too. But you brought back some memories of my teams like that too. But we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have some fun not only today, but through the rest of the year, through the week. We have so much content that we're gonna be providing for all the short conference football fans out there. And I know people are very antsy about you and your newsletter when that stuff comes out. So we got a lot to do. All right. We are going to talk about this week's games. We're going to present the top 20 and we're going to cut it real short. We're going to cut it real short, this one right here, just because we don't have a lot of information to provide right now because it is week 0. It is week 0, and a lot of people don't start till week 1, all the medias, but we wanted to provide something to get you in a consistent role every week, right?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Well, Scott, you've been gone for a while, but you know what I started last year? I started a coach's top 20. Think of that. Now, when you're in the top 10, you're in the top 10. When everybody does top 10. If you're 11, nobody in the world knows who you are. Right. Nobody. When I was at Barnegat, we were in the top.
Are you saying this because Barnegat was number 11 probably a lot of years?
Yeah. Those were the phone calls you used to get. But think of that. Okay, we'll use Barnegat as an example. A small group 2 school. When you have a really good year, you're in that top 10. But once you lose, for a school like that to ever come back, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. So I figured that there's 42 schools in the shore. Let's make 20 of them have a numerical number on them. But it's not just those 20. What about the 5 teams that are almost in the top 20? So now you start including those 5 or 7 or 8, and now you have everybody's interest.
I like it. I really like it just because for so many years, the coaches, because we did the top 10, the media, they'd say, oh, I can't believe you have that team here and there. Well, now you get to see what your peers think of your team.
Yep. Listen, talk about being awkward, walking on a Rumson field, and you snubbed them for one. They're turning their back on you. It's the coaches, not me. It's all good.
Yes, it's nice. Now I have someone completely else to blame.
That is, and whatever you throw up there is somebody always going, that's not right. This should be here. This should be there.
That's the fun of it. But
Yeah.
at least this time. But it's always interesting to see what the coaches think too. I mean, especially I think it's a little better now because teams get outside their division a little bit more, and there's more crossover between Monmouth and Ocean County somewhat.
Right.
Because in the past, the struggle was, well, we only play teams, that in our division really that are good. I don't know anything about Toms River North. I don't know anything about Matawan because we don't play them. So, it's interesting now to see their input on this. So I'm interested to see when you put this up, what they think here.
I want to present it. I want to present it in a second. So every coach gets a ballot, and we usually get 22 to 35. This week we got 27. And right now, this is the busy part of the year. Right? It is. Right? They're just getting started. Everybody's nervous. So 27 participants did it and voted, and I'm going to present it for you. You ready? Let's show it right now. All right, Scott, here is the Coaches Top 20 presented by KLINE Brothers Pools in Manahawkin. Let me just say one thing about our sponsor for this Coaches Top 20. Good friend of mine in the area, does Ocean and Monmouth County pools and landscaping. And if you're looking for any pools to be put in after the summer, you got to call Josh KLINE and KLINE Brothers Pools. They'll be with us all season, Coach, doing the Coach's Top 20. He's a big sports guy. Now, here is the Top 20 that just came out. I did not present it yet to everybody. It will be put out tonight and also on this show. But let's look at it. Anything strike you right away?
I mean, obviously the top, I don't know. I don't think anybody would be surprised by RBC, Toms River North. Middletown South, interesting. I mean, they got a good amount of guys, and they're a tremendous program year after year. Seeing them jump over Donovan Catholic, it's maybe a little bit surprising, but Donovan also graduated some of the best players in the Shore Conference.
Yes.
Rumson's always there. I would say the one that kind of initially was like, wow, that's interesting, I would say, is Wall. Coming off the whole scandal situation last year. They also graduated an absolutely tremendous senior class. I mean, Charlie Sasso, one of the best defensive players in the Shore Conference, now at Monmouth. Like, that was an amazing group that they had come through here. I think that shows respect for, the program Wall has established, but also respect for Eddie Guerreri, the new Wall head coach, formerly at Manalapan, built them into a perennial power, has had success pretty much everywhere he's coached in the Shore. But to see them at 10 coming off the season, the way things ended, and the amount of guys who graduated, I thought that was pretty interesting.
I saw them playing 7-on-7. I just want to add this. I thought it was like looking at a Manalapan football team because he had his coaching staff from Manalapan. He had that tough guy, mentality with the guys. And I think that Wall is going to be okay. I do this year.
Yeah, I mean, they hit a home run with that hire. You know, if you need somebody to sort of lead you out of this really rough patch and, ugly thing that happened at the school, he's the perfect guy. I mean, he built Manalapan into a tremendous program, so he knows how to do all this. And Wall has similar players to Manalapan, maybe not quite the numbers they had, but I thought that was really impressive and really a tribute to Eddie and the program there, that people think that the other coaches already think that they're a top 10 team, even though to me they're kind of an unknown.
Scott, I love the top 20. I just love it. Just seeing 10 more teams on a top list. I really do.
Yeah, I think I would argue maybe some of, Barnegat to me could be a division champion challenger with JoJo Bivens back, one of the top running backs in the Shore.
Yeah.
Shore Regional to me, always one of the better small school teams I know. They lost Jamie Mazzocco, who was kind of their do-it-all superstar to graduation, but they're always a team that's usually in the hunt. But yeah, I mean, Central, that's a good sign for them too. I mean, they have Chase Gumbrecht back. I saw him last year. He's really good.
Very good.
They're running back. So certainly they deserve the respect there. They had a really good season. Middletown North is a team I heard a lot of pretty good things about in the preseason. So I'm curious to see how they do. So nice to see them pop up
Yep.
there in the top 12. I mean, yeah, the top what 5 teams to me that's the usual suspects.
Yeah,
You know,
I was surprised you didn't say something. Okay, Point Borough. Now, yes,
Point Borough. I mean, they were sectional champion last
yeah,
year. They played in a playoff game and they were right there with Haddonfield and they lost by a point. And I'll tell you what, I saw those guys at the media day.
mm-hmm.
I mean, Oliphant, the new quarterback, looks like a tremendous
Yeah.
athlete. They have a monstrous line.
Mm-hmm.
And they scrimmaged Toms River North in the preseason and held their own fairly good with a team at a much bigger school
Yep.
with a ton of star players, physical guys. No, I think this is a year Point Borough's been pointing to for a while. And I mean, they had the season last year and they want to take it even further. I mean, this is the first year of the group finals, right?
I'm going to give
so
you.
I bet you Point Borough's thinking, we want to win the whole thing. Like, we want to make history as being one of the first short conference teams to win an overall group championship.
I'm going to throw a monkey wrench in your talk right here, but you're right on everything. Point Borough won it all. They are hyped up, and rightfully so. They got a lot of guys back, but there's still something on their bucket list that they need to do. They need to beat Manasquan. Yes. And Manasquan is in their division now. You got Point Borough, who everybody basically backed. They won a state championship, but they lost to Manasquan last year, and now they're playing them now. So they got something to really focus on.
I mean, that's their old school Thanksgiving rival, their neighboring rival. I mean, those players pretty much all know each other. And as we know, Manasquan's a tremendous program, and they have Patton back, multi-year starter at quarterback, one of the best returning quarterbacks in the short conference. So yeah, that's no easy game by any stretch. But yeah, you're right. You do have to get that win. But yeah, I think Point Borough, that's not a surprise to me that they're that high. I mean, they may have a shot to be even higher, given that a lot of those other teams above them play each other and may start knocking each other off. And if Point Borough keeps winning and is undefeated going into the playoffs, they may be able to nudge up over some of those other teams just because, I mean, that, American division is just hellacious. Like, you could be a really good team and be in 4th or 5th place in that division.
Correct.
So there could be some casualties just from playing a really tough schedule for some of those teams. So you could see Point Borough potentially being even higher than that. But you're right. This is some of the biggest expectations they've had in a couple years, where people feel like you're one of the best teams in the state for your group. You might be able to win the whole thing, but now you got to live up to it.
Yeah, you're right. It's amazing, though. We're talking about all this other stuff. Nobody really mentioned here the top. And that was a very close one. And the big talk was, who is it? It's Red Bank Catholic, North, then who? Well, I saw Donovan Catholic play North, and there's not a big gap between those two. So there's a lot of good teams. But you know what it is when you do these things? These things, you have historical traditional powers,
right?
And that's what you kind of go with it, and you have blind faith, like, well, they graduated.
Like a lot of coaches are confident to just put Middletown South there.
Correct.
Middletown South has delivered year after year for 20 plus years, 30 years. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yes, but I want to talk about the other side now. The surprise teams, the teams that I think that we should talk about briefly, because these are the teams that the average person in the shore wouldn't think. Howell lost 6 games by 5 points last year.
They were the
heartbreak kids. So they're in every one of the games, and they got to win those 50-50 games. And they got a lot of guys back. Jack Gartenstein's going to be playing quarterback from his wide receiver spot, big, tall lefty. They got a lot of guys back. They have 2 of the top tight ends in the shore. Like, Coach Hill has a loaded arsenal out there. They really do. So Howell is a team, and Jackson in that same division. Jackson's not used to having a losing record.
Yeah, I mean, in Jackson, they've struggled a couple years, but this is a program that, in other words, when you see their name ranked, it's never a surprise.
Never.
This is a program that's been good for so long, but you may raise an eyebrow in the sense of just because they've had some struggles in recent years, but they have a good coaching staff. They have a good feeder system. They always seem to have hard-nosed players. So, yeah, you could see them, definitely.
They won their last 3. They won their
top 10 berth. Another interesting one is Ocean Township.
Yes.
I mean, they struggled at times last year. To me, that's a vote of confidence for Tyler Douglas. It's like he's going to take off as one of the elite quarterbacks of not only in the Shore, in the state, committed to Temple. I saw him at Media Day, and he has done incredible work on his body in the offseason.
Right.
He looks the part. Like, he looks like you could put him in an FBS game on a Saturday right now, and he would be able to hold his own out there. So Ocean is another team, and that's good respect for Marlboro. I mean, that's a program that's really struggled for a million years, but they've been much more competitive in recent years. And last year they were so close to one of those elusive playoff berths. So I think that's a testament to hopefully what they're building there too.
And don't be surprised with Shane Fallon, who's at 20 in his second year at Red Bank Catholic, with Noel Cavanaugh calling that offense and the K-Gun. They got some excitement over there too.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. When Shane got there, you just knew that it's probably only a matter of time before this program is a top 10 team, is a contender. Last year was just setting the foundation, setting the expectations he has for those players, evaluating the guys that you can move forward with. And you're right, offensively, they had some really exciting games last year. So they definitely showed flashes that, if they minimize some mistakes, things like that I think they can challenge for their division title. So yeah, I think like we said before, there is that top group, but then I think there's just like a ton of parity after that, where a lot of these teams can fluctuate up and down 6-7 spots, all the way out, all the way in, that kind of stuff in the course of a week or two.
This list will always be changing because of the competitiveness of the Shore Conference, and this will be always updated every year. Let me add one more team. Middletown North, like you said earlier, they have Jack Lopez, they have Pete Dempsey, but here's a guy that I'm going to throw a name out, and get your pen ready. Quarterback, all right, Luke Sheehan, one of the sleepers out there in the Shore Conference, a big, strong quarterback.
From what I heard, he threw 4 touchdowns, or I believe the other day, against Raritan in their scrimmage.
Yes, he did.
Team. And a lot of people during that, you were at the 7-on-7, right? Wasn't that an area where
he threw 17 touchdowns and no interceptions at the Monmouth 7-on-7? But I'm just saying, knowing Steve Bush, he's one of the best play callers out there, a college coach who's now in high school, and grooming a kid like this.
An NFL coach.
Yeah, and an NFL coach. Luke Sheehan will be, at the end of the season, one of the top quarterbacks that we're going to be talking about.
And with their offense that they run, it's based around the quarterback.
Yeah.
He's going to be featured. So, yeah, but you're right. I definitely have heard some good buzz about him. And we'll put in one more plug, so we can't talk about every team.
Okay.
But Long Branch, right? The post-Danny George era.
Yeah.
Chad King, their new coach. They definitely had some playmakers, but I think some people wonder, will the good times keep rolling? Will the program keep? And I believe it will, because Chad's been there with Danny all those years. He knows what to expect, and the players know. But that's, whenever you have a big transition from a coach who's led you to multiple state titles, been there for decades, that's always an interesting story to follow.
I'm pulling for Chad. Great guy. Great story for him to be the coach. Well, there's so many great stories, Coach. Let's end this right now, the top 20. KLINE Brothers Pools preseason coaches top 20. We're going to do it every week on our show. But so many stories to talk about. Let's get into it right now. All right, Scott, we don't have a lot of games to talk about. Usually this segment here, we're going to run down the games of the week, and we are going to do it for week 0, and there's only 5 games. So we're going to be in and out of here real quick, all right? So let's get right into it. Let's do a brief thing, what to look for in the game, and have some fun with it. You ready?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, which one do you want to start with?
I want to go up top with Keyport at Manville. That's an interesting game because we don't know a lot about Manville. We do know a lot about Keyport. And Coach Glesman had a great season last year, going 6-3, graduated Thompson, wide receiver Thompson, a stud, but they're out to prove this year that they're more than the graduate guys. Tradition doesn't graduate, and Keyport's ready to showcase what they have. They have a run.
And I think they're going to have a tremendous backfield, especially for a Group 1 school. I mean, Nazir Treadwell is back. I think he had over 800 yards last year.
Yep.
They have Dejan Cross, who transferred from St. John Vianney, gives them another explosive back. And then you have a freshman, Mekhi Henderson, who Coach Klesman also thinks is going to get touches and help them. I mean, they have a new quarterback in Ryan Osovich, but I think that this game is really about them believing like we have a good shot this year to win a state championship. I think it's like starting to build that confidence that they can get all the way to the back of the mountaintop. I mean, interestingly enough, Manville was, I believe, 6-3 last year, and they have a back of their own named Sean Purcell, who's pretty good.
Yes.
And he's going to be their guy. So it could be Treadwell and Purcell going head to head against each other to some degree. But Manville, you talk about, like you were just talking about the Keyport tradition. Keyport's won 6 state titles, perennial playoff team. Like Manville has never even won a playoff game in the history of their program. They've only even been to the playoffs 3 times. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to build something at a program that has traditionally struggled. So I think it's a great matchup. I would certainly give Keyport the edge. If you remember the old days of when our Group 1 schools had the crossover schedule with the Greater Middlesex Conference, the Group 1 schools from the shore dominated that. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good game. We're going to find out, how good that Keyport backfield looks, how they integrate some of the new faces, and I think that will be a good start to their season.
Yeah, Scott, when they had a nice backfield with Treadwell, and then what's his name transferred in, Cross, that right. Just added another dimension to their football team, and they're going to use them at safety. They're going to find ways to get them the football, but they have a dynamic backfield right now with those two, and they have numbers. For a Group 1 school, they have higher numbers than the average team out there, and they're out to prove something this year that last year was not a fluke.
Right, and I think get back to the old Keyport way of, hey, we expect to win 6, 7, 8 games every year. We expect to be challenging for a state title every year. I think that's, really what they're trying to reestablish there, and just some stability. After Coach Mike Ciccatelli left, their legendary coach, finished his tenure there, I feel like they had a different coach like every other year. That Jason Glesman is trying to just solidify that program as much as anything too, to know the expectations that the same guy's coming back every year, and that you're not going to change the offense, change the defense, then have another coach. Then that can just really burn players out to where they don't believe that things are headed in the right direction.
Yeah, that's a small, close-knit community too, and they're excited. Coach Glez always talks about how they support the Keyport football program, and that's real important too. But there's more football players on that team than just those couple guys. There is. I like this sophomore Roman Blanks, outside linebacker. I got him really ranked really high, and you'll see that at the end of the week. He's a guy to look out for. I love also the center defense and Ryan Burns. So they got some guys around these star power skill kids that I think you got to consider Keyport as a team that can contend in that division.
Right. And then you go from the small school, one of the smallest schools in the shore, to one of the biggest ones, Southern Regional. They're heading out to West Windsor Plainsboro, the co-op team, I guess it is, between the two West Windsor schools. And I mean, you look at that game, West Windsor Plainsboro struggled even just to have a team many years. They haven't had many wins, although they do have a short conference connection. And Coach Furlong, who was previously at Manchester. But for Southern, I think they're turning the page in the sense that they graduated their all-time leading rusher, Jaden Brown, almost all of their linemen, almost their whole team.
Yes, he did.
So this is almost a restart for them under Chuck Donahue, one of the longtime veteran, great coaches in the shore. And also they're going to be changing from their traditional multiple I formation power running game to the flex bone triple option attack. So this will be the first look at that. And to me, this is it's a good game in the sense that Southern should go in there and handle them and get some confidence right away. The only downside is, if West Windsor ends up having a really bad season, it doesn't really help you as far as your power ranking for playoff seeding. But I think it's a good game for Southern, because if you can go out there, let the new guys all get in there, get confidence, have a good game, that to me is crucial, considering Southern's schedule is pretty difficult this year.
Yeah, it is. And talking to Coach Donahue here on our show a couple weeks ago, changing his offense. He had a bunch of graduate kids, and also he had some injury. He had an injury on the line too that he had to put his kids in the right position, and you respect that because he did say this offense may only be a year. He doesn't know because you have to reevaluate your program.
Right.
But he did run this back when he was down south. He's excited about doing something different in the Shore with a young and experienced football
And he
team.
has Andy Folletta, like an experienced player from last year, coming back to play quarterback.
Now I don't know if he's coming. I don't know if between him or Colin Lang because they were one of the teams that
had two guys.
Yeah, and they're both seniors, and Lang's a linebacker, so he's going to get banged around, and he embraces that
it's just
stuff.
a tough offense to pick up right away. When you haven't come up in that system because of the steps and the timing and the quick decision making, and the deception and all of that. You're trying to get all that down. That's not easy.
Walt Curry ran this offense at Point Borough, and it took a couple of games to get it, and then it got clicking.
Right.
And the rest is history with that too. But
it's a game where if you have good, smart linemen who may be a little undersized, but they're quick, you have a quarterback who can make quick decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You can level the playing field a little bit against teams that might have you outmanned talent wise.
Yeah.
And Chuck is a really good coach, and like you said, he's run it before. The one interesting thing too is they have a big tight end. Usually, this offense doesn't really. The tight end is like non-existent. But Max DiPietro, right? He's like 6'6" target.
No, he's not 6'6". He's not 6'6", but he's around 6'2". But Max DiPietro is a kid. I know his father played at Rowan, and I just pictured him as being a tight end type of. He's going to play wide receiver. He'll play tight end. He'll play outside backer. He'll play DN. He's one of those dudes that Chuck Donahue is going to look into and say, "You're a leader. I need my leader to be playing here," and he'll do it. Right. A program guy, just like Xander Murray, a guy that was behind, their big stud linebacker, running back Brown, and now it's his time to shine. So good programs when the guys graduate have guys like DiPietro and Murray to step in and be the leaders for young
kids. Keep the wins coming. Yeah. I think that this will be a good start for them, and then you got a Freehold Regional District rivalry game. Manalapan at Freehold Township. That's an interesting game because I looked it up, and I believe Manalapan has beaten them 16 times in a row. I think it's been since 2004 and most of them have been lopsided because Manalapan had so many great teams for so many years.
Thank you, Ed Guerreri.
The interesting question is, who do you think the coach was the last time Freehold Township beat Manalapan?
I know the answer. I want you to say it.
It's Dom Lepore, the Manalapan head coach, the current Manalapan head coach, was the last one to do it. I remember when he was at Freehold Township, he was one of the youngest coaches in the Shore. He was so young that his younger brother was his quarterback one year at Freehold Town. I don't think I'd ever seen that before.
He was so young, he needed parent permission just to coach.
Yeah, exactly. He's so young that his actual younger brother was the starting quarterback for the team he was coaching. But to me, Manalapan comes back with a ton of starters, like 15 starters or something like that. Wow. The interesting thing about this game, obviously you're not rooting for field goals, you like touchdowns and all that stuff. These are two of the best kickers of the Shore on either side.
Understatement. Yep.
Michael Calton from Manalapan, Cody Wohlrab from Freehold Township. I mean, that's two of we might have the all-shore kickoff, competition before and during the game to decide who's going to be one of the top guys.
They are very impressive kicking. They really are. Now, this is a Freehold School District game, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of excitement within that own,
I
own
think
district.
The other thing is the incentive for Freehold Township is obvious. You haven't beaten Manalapan in so long, and we just saw those top 20 rankings. If you knock Manalapan off in the first game, that's going to make the whole Shore Conference sit up and take notice.
Yeah.
For Manalapan, this is a must-have game, I think, because they're now up in that American division where their schedule is like they're playing in that, the SEC of the Shore. So it's like you need to get the wins where you can get them when you're a favored team because your schedule is going to be a real grind going forward. So, and I like the matchup too because Corey Davies in the air raid, we know they love to throw the ball like crazy. And then meanwhile, Manalapan's strength, at least with their returning guys, is their secondary, which is excellent. Looking at your preseason all division teams, I think there's 3 Manalapan guys at D-back.
Yeah. They're coach. They have experience.
Back
They
on
have a
there.
bunch of guys. They have a bunch of guys too that are ready to shine in the short conference, Manalapan. But something about Corey Davies, when you play him, you always know he's going to be good at something that you're not comfortable doing, and that's the pass game. And
Right.
he'll throw on fourth and an inch because
Yeah,
that's
and
what he
that's
does.
where I mean, even when I talked to him back in the days when he started all this at Howell, a lot of his philosophy was the average defensive back can't cover for that long or can't cover all this, in the short conference, and they had great success with it
Yes,
at
he did.
Howell. Obviously, more teams have run it now, so I think it's much more of like a mainstream thing. But the big thing with Township, Mark Augello's back, right?
Yes.
He
Yep.
was one of the top quarterbacks in the Shore, even though he missed 3 games with injuries, still threw for
He
1,400
wasn't even a
yards.
starter last year. They had a
Yeah.
kid, Ryan Jackson, who got hurt. So then
And
he
then Nick
came in.
Cardone obviously has experience.
Yep.
And I think they're going to, if Corey said it correctly, like he may even see some time at receiver this year.
Yes.
When he's not playing, with Augello at quarterback.
Yep.
You got Anthony Long, you got Sean Corchado, like as two wide receivers where they each had over 30 catches last year, like 8 touchdowns. So they have the weapons coming back. I think the area where Manalapan is always so tough is up front. Their line on both sides of the ball every year is really good, and they got guys again this year.
They do.
So I think that's an area Freehold Township at least needs to get a stalemate if they're going to have a chance, because Manalapan, they're going to come out and they're going to run the ball. It's looking like Nick Heckel is going to be their quarterback. Is that?
I'm hearing that it's a two-way race, but I have heard that guy's name as the front runner, but I'm not sure.
Right. The younger brother of last year's quarterback. And then, they have also guys coming up. They have Evan Radosevich, the younger brother of Riley Radosevich, a former Manalapan star who's now an all Ivy League lineman at Princeton.
Yep.
They got some great players up front. They got, Thomas Clark Glasgow, right? He's going to play running back. He's in that secondary. Alex Dilly, a wide receiver who also very good defensive back. Darius
Most
Colton,
underrated player, Darius Colton. Remember that
Okay.
name. Remember that name. He's a corner and a receiver, and he is as good as their stars on their team. Now, this kid's going to be something special, and I think he's the key to their season, because if he elevates the way I keep hearing, they're going to be very good, because he's under the radar, but not with us.
And I think the one thing that surprised me a little bit when I was watching your talk with Coach Lepore was he compared, was it Jackson Pfister to Ryan Spadola?
I heard him say that. Yeah, that's a strong comparison.
That's about as high praise as it gets. I mean, he was an FCS star, went on and played the NFL for a little while.
Yes.
Like, wow, that's so.
And don't forget Joe Mello. Joe Mello, big, tall, athletic kid that hasn't even hit his ceiling yet. Plays tight end, outside linebacker. He does return kicks. Does it all with that. He has a bunch of guys right there, and I think he's going to contend and surprise people in that American division. But Coach Davies, like you said too, he's got his hands full a little bit. Yes, he's playing home. It's short practices and all that stuff because he only had 2 weeks to prepare. But throw out the records, whatever it is, or expectations, because in game 1, you don't know what you're hiding or the other guy's hiding. So anything can happen.
And speaking of a ton of playmakers, we'll move on to the Battle on the Beach down in Ocean City.
Oh, yeah.
Those 2 big games. I mean, Toms River North, one of the most exciting teams. And you talk about a team entering the season with major expectations. You've seen them. They're ranked in the state. They potentially could be a top 10 team in the state.
They may be the number one public.
They made it to the state finals last year. They came up just short against Kingsway. They're hungry to get back this year and finish the job.
Mm-hmm.
So and Washington Township last year was the number 1 seed in that South 5 bracket and got shocked in the first round by Lenape. So, they're trying to come back and, prove a point as well. Like, this would be a major statement for them to beat Toms River North.
There's a lot of people throwing out Toms River North is being mentioned as a possible number 1 public school too. That's how good they are. Now, last year when we were talking with Coach Oz, they were very young. We got 20-something underclassmen. You know what happens when you have 20-something underclassmen? The next year, you're a veteran team. But don't be fooled. There's a lot of juniors with a lot of high marking stars with the recruiting that are juniors only. He's got that.
Yeah, Michael Ford right away. Their quarterback. I mean, the true dual threat. Like really, the second half of last season really took off as just one of the most
Yep.
explosive players in the short conference. They have a really good running back in Josh Moore. They have receivers, Tariq Council. Jeremiah Pruitt is a great two-way player. They're really good up front. They have the brothers, Josh and Justin Kay, I believe.
Yep.
And then you
They're
got
huge.
Jalen Matthews, who's one of the top recruits in the short conference, 6'6", 300 pounds, sophomore. He's already got,
He don't even look it. He looks 280, 275. He's so lean. It's impressive, that kid.
Right. So you're talking a team that kind of at all levels has a playmaker, a start. Ty Kazanowski at the linebacker, and their linebacking crew looks really good. I mean, yeah, this is a team where there's just guys all over the field. It's like, how are you going to defend them? And I think it's going to be an interesting matchup because Washington Township has a Rutgers recruit, John Stone, 6'3", 285 lineman. So you're going to see him probably going head-to-head with some of these other top Toms River North guys, FBS guys. So there might be some good just individual matchups up front in that game. I mean, Washington Township graduated Jonathan Silver, who was their kind of star running back last year. So offensively, we don't necessarily know who's going to be the big standout for them. But for North, I think it's a statement game, right?
Oh, yeah.
You want to come out and go right at this team and show we should be the favorite in this bracket. This is a team that was the number one seed last year. We want to take it to them. And you may want to send a message to Washington Township because you may see them again if you're Toms River North.
Hopefully, right?
This could be
Hopefully.
the first of two meetings. And then we have a great rivalry game after that. RBC, our number one team, you get to see on the opening weekend against St. John Vianney. RBC obviously very heavy favorite in this game.
Very heavy favorite. Very.
Yeah, and really I think the main thing you're trying to look at with RBC is most of the guys. I mean, it's a star-studded team. Who's going to be the quarterback?
That's the big question.
This is Alex Brown.
Big question out there. I don't know if you know it. Let me know. But right now, they haven't decided.
Someone named Frank. It's either going to be Frank Fufaro, who's a junior, or Frankie Williams, who's a sophomore.
Hopefully, it's Frank, right? Yeah.
Right. So one of those. But I mean, that whoever wins that job, they have a tremendous backfield behind them that's going to help them ease into things. You got Sabino Portela is one of the best running backs in the Shore. Torrin Harmon, also one of the best running backs in the Shore. You got a tremendous line. So there's a ton of pressure on that quarterback from the beginning. But, yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see just who it is out there and how they perform, having to replace one of the best quarterbacks in the Shore who was unbelievable in their state tournament run last year.
I like Najee Rauman, and I also like Emmanuel Ross, a high-rising underclassman. The junior has a couple offers from big 1A schools. They're very, very explosive. Luke Krezikowski, a tight end, transferred in from Central. They have all the pieces put in place. If they could settle with their quarterback, with their run game intact and their line's humongous and their depth of their team, I think they can make another run with the non-public.
Yeah, RBC's basically accomplished everything you can accomplish as a program. The only thing they've never done is win back-to-back state championships. That's clearly the goal this year. Yeah,
that's going to be a gain. Now, St. John Vianney, new coach, Coach Papkin, a bunch of guys left, graduation, or they went to a different school.
Transfers. I mean, it's like he was retooling the team on the fly in almost the last, month or so.
But you know what? When it's your first year, you want to make sure when the dust settles, who are the guys that are here? Okay, this is who we got. Now let's start from this point right here. He's a high energy coach, and the kids really love him. He does have a talent, Kyle Verest at wide receiver,
right.
One of the best out there in the short conference.
Also a tremendous defensive back.
Yeah, and Christian Buchanan, he's a physical kid. A long line of Buchanans present and also behind him too. I know Ryan is underneath him, a big lineman. So they're going to have some guys that, again,
they got a couple linemen back. I mean, they have Zach Scully and Tim O'Dowd back, so they got some guys up front. So, yeah, I mean, there's a few building blocks, but, I mean, losing a multi-year starter at quarterback in Antonio Rosado,
yes,
that hurts.
Yeah, that does. But they don't know.
Late in the game.
They don't know who their quarterback is this year right now going in. Or, again, maybe they do, but they're just not telling us right now. That is the burning question, not only here, but in a lot of places.
Yeah, I mean, how many of these games did we just talk about where we just say we're not sure who the starting quarterback is, and the game is literally this weekend?
Unbelievable. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. They have confidence to keep two guys in the running for this long. Maybe both will play in some capacity, or
Either
they
that,
have.
or you're trying to hold off the angry parental phone calls and emails until the absolute end.
Do you know who does not have two good quarterbacks? Is the New York Jets.
Yes, I know. I watched that preseason game last night, and I don't even want to talk about it.
Well, Scott, this is a great rundown of Week 0 games. Again, as the weeks go on, we'll have more games to talk about and more information because everything right now is just a build-up to hopefully a big season right now. And the games start next week, and everybody else is going to be playing too. So we'll have a lot to talk about. Guys, please check out the Shore Football Reports All-Star Reports that started in the summer, and this week into next week stuff will be out. And let's just talk about each one briefly right now. What the projects we did, the high school football preview show was something I did and got a chance to interview every head football coach in all the programs in Ocean and Monmouth County. I talked with head football coaches, and 2 to up to 5 players also came in on the interview. We talked about their program, stuff you wouldn't know about if you weren't in the program, what they do in the off season, and the players they got coming back, the whole 9 yards with that. Check that out on the shorefootballreport.com. Everything's on YouTube. Then the all division teams, they started yesterday, August 22nd. Every team had their own YouTube. First and second teams were selected. Believe it or not, 76 players for each division were selected. And a lot of people were watching it and getting excited because a lot of names are out there. And I like to play Santa Claus in the preseason because I want to hype up the kids' names. I want to get names out there. I want to promote it. And then when we do our postseason awards, they get a little tighter, a little smaller amount. But for preseason, I like to spread the joy with that. So check it out. It's all over the place, all division teams on YouTube. Again, the shorefootballreport.com has all the links, or you can go right to YouTube. All Ocean County and all Monmouth County teams will be out on Thursday of this week. First, second, third, and fourth teams are being selected. Nobody else does as amount of teams and players that we do here with the Shore Football Report. I want to get guys' names out there and see how they mix with one division, the other division together. Who are the top players? Why stop at 2? We go to 4. Get a lot of players mentioned with that. So check it out on Thursday. The Ocean and Monmouth County teams are both selected. 2 different YouTube will be out for that. On Saturday, the all short teams will come out. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Again, nobody does that. The amount of names that we put out, why stop at 2 or 3? Go and get more names mentioned. Again, I'm playing Santa Claus. I want a lot of names out there. A lot of kids deserve to get recognized. They'll be on there. That will be one big YouTube presentation. So there will be 6 teams with that. Have fun with the all short teams there. Then next Monday, we're going to do our player position rankings. And this is something that everybody's been looking forward to. I spent so much time putting film out, evaluating, talking to coaches, talking to college coaches, talking to high school coaches. I talked to colleges on Division 1, 2, and 3 to get their input on what guys do you like. I threw names at them. They threw names at me. It was great. I had overlapping information. It was awesome. Talked to all the head coaches on the computer. We did our virtual talks about all the players. Got good information about everybody. I have 1,100 people in my database. I got their strengths, their speeds. I got everything on there, and I put them into a ranking system with numbers. And I have a little bit of a rubric scale that I punch in the numbers, and it gives me a different number for them, and I'm able to value what they're ranked. Now, you may not agree with my ranking. That's fine, but I do have a little bit of a mad process that I did and how I selected the players. What I did was, for every position, I did 2023, which are seniors, the top 20. Then for juniors, the 2024 is top 15. and the sophomore class 2025 top 10 for every position. Every position. And I don't just say quarterbacks, it's quarterback duels and quarterback pocket, running back feature, running back multi, inside slot, wide receiver on the outside. I got so many different things. DN, D tackle, inside backer, outside backer, corner safety. With that, it's not an O lineman. He's a center guard or tackle. That's what we do. And I also have an athlete position too. A lot of names. Over 650 names are going to be on the player position rankings. Go to the Short Football Report and always check it out because those things will be on there. Enjoy these reports. A lot of work was being done and time and effort. I want to thank ACCUCARE. ACCUCARE is our sponsor for our high school football preview shows, the all division teams, the all county teams, the all short teams, and there are high school weekly talk shows. They're awesome. They're my title sponsor, and they are fantastic. And the player position rankings, my sponsor is Boardwalk Beasts, and they do 7-on-7s, and they are the sponsor for the player position rankings. So with that, please check out all of this stuff on the Shore Football Report. Enjoy it. It's for you guys. It's stuff to look at throughout the season. Always look back, see if I'm right with those things. I want to be wrong, but I also want to be right. But different names will be there throughout the year. All right, now I want to tell you guys what is the high school football coverage that you're going to get each week. And I broke it down for you guys. So let's go. A little different, but a lot is the same. On Mondays, ACCUCARE is our sponsor, and they are going to be sponsoring the players of the week for the divisions, the short conference players of the week, and also county assistant coaches of the week. Yes, you heard it here first. We are going to recognize assistant coaches for football programs. All right. Now, me being a head football coach, I know how it is. You want to promote your assistant coaches. We are going to take a guy from Ocean County and Monmouth County, and we are going to give them a assistant coaches of the week, just like we do players of the week. Right there. So you players, play your butts off, do a great job so you can get your assistant coach on recognized with us. Enjoy it. That's going to be something I'm really, really having fun doing. Then on Tuesday, KLINE Brothers Pool is the coaches top 20. Every week, I have my coaches send in their ballots to me by Tuesday at noon, and then I will supply it for everybody out there in a video form. Coaches top 20 rankings. On Wednesday, we have the high school football weekly talk show. Wow, that's this show right here. Every single Wednesday, we are going to be on it right here. I love it. All right. So every Wednesday, you get to hear myself and Scott Stump. Thursdays are going to be statistical leaders. All right. Our statistical leaders. And that is going to be with the NUC Combine, is going to be our sponsor for that with statistical leaders. And everybody loves stats. It's going to be up there, the top players for each position. And then you're going to be able to go to my website to see everybody's stats. So anybody that does anything during the short conference season, it'll be recognized in my database that will be on the shorefootballreport.com, the statistical area right there. Everybody's stats will be up there, not just top 10. It's great. On Fridays, we will have our game picks by the experts. You know what? If you talk to my wife, I'm not an expert in anything, but I'm going to say I'm the expert in football. Yes, me, Scott Stump, Logan Germano, and a mystery administrator. You got it. We are going to have a mystery administrator from Ocean Monmouth County each week selecting. You're not going to know their face, but you will know that it is an administrator somewhere in the short conference. So you better start being real nice to those administrators in your building. It might be a principal, it might be a VP, it might be a superintendent, it may be somebody out there, but they're the mystery administrator that's going to be doing their weekly picks with us with that. And of course, on Friday, you're going to have high school football coverage on Friday and Saturday with Scott Stump and myself doing a lot of things. We are going to to play around a little bit with also Twitter Space, where you're going to be able to listen to me and him live talking, and maybe having other people on the show or other reporters coming in to piggyback and talk about what's going on in our game. This is what's going on over there, and having some fun with it. Twitter Space is something new. All right. This is our coverage for the shorefootballreport.com during the week. Enjoy it.